again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming Wednesday live stream. All right, let's get this out of the way. Got some stuff on my screen that's doesn't need to be on there. All right, great. I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday morning. I got a few things to go over, and then I want to just sit back and read, not to you. I want to basically just kind of do a live book review on the channel, and yeah, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Battle Group. All right, let me go ahead and sip some of my tea. Get my mouth wet. Oh, that burned. Okay, so I have an agenda that I have hidden. Let's go ahead and pull my agenda up. There it is. Let's move that off this screen. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is some buildings. Okay, I've got these buildings in, but this is only the start. Okay, as you know, I've transitioned to 15 millimeter, right? I've decided that I'm going to start some 15 millimeter projects. I'm going to shelf my 28 millimeter projects. They're pretty much not on my mind right now. 15 millimeter for this year, 2022. I'm sorry, I don't even know what year it is. 2022 is going to be my 15 millimeter year. Probably 2023 as well, and I'll get into that and the reason why that might be as well later in this video. All right, so if you've never come out to any of these Wargaming Wednesdays, or if this is your first Wargaming Wednesday, welcome. First of all, welcome to the channel. What I try to do is just basically keep you informed about what I'm doing on my projects. Also to give you a little insight into my thought processes and how I am not necessarily progressing with my projects, but a little deeper dive, like why am I doing these certain things? Or maybe how, like maybe I'll show you a technique or something like that. Sometimes I'll work on the models on camera and stuff like that. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes, like today, I don't think I'll be working on any models. I do have some commissions that I'm working on. I've got some Hungarians. No, wait, these are Soviets, actually. They're the NKVDs. I've decided to go ahead and I got a customer. He sent me like 5 platoons of bolt action 28 millimeter guys. One of them is an NKVD, and a second one is an NKVD with winter basing. So I guess he's going to use them. He's going to be able to use different models for depending on what scenarios he's playing. That's pretty cool. Plus, he sent me some British Commandos and some U.S. Rangers and some Hungarian Honved. So I'll be working on those. And then I've got another commission after that, which is 18 millimeter AB. Confederate of the Rhine Napoleonics. So that's probably going to get me to the end of the month, maybe into next month. I didn't put this on my agenda because it just came to me. Warlord had just sent me an email, maybe a day or two ago, that stated that they have so many boxes of the Epic Waterloo in their offices that, I mean, in the warehouse, that they couldn't store it in the warehouse. They had to store it, overflowed into their office complex. So that's a good sign. That means they are ready to start shipping those out. They just have to figure out who they're going to ship to first. Maybe it's alphabetical. Maybe it's as the orders came in. I don't know. But I expect to be receiving my Epic Waterloo bundle in the next week or 2 or 3, because usually Warlord gets here in less than 2 weeks. So depending on when they ship it. Hey Mike, I see that you're chatting. Thank you. What are you doing? How are you hanging? I'm doing great, thank you. Oh, I'm not doing great. I have to show you guys something on camera. If it doesn't focus, I'm going to change my focus. Do you see that? Can you see that? Let me get some light on that. There is this massive blister on my finger. Can you see that? That tells you how much I've been painting. No, that's not true. But it does show you how much I've been working. That blister is, and I'm not going to pop it or anything. It doesn't hurt or anything. Well, it's kind of sensitive, but it doesn't hurt. That's probably a friction burn, because for the last 2 days, I've been doing nothing but literally for the last 2 days, packaging, boxing, and shipping miniatures. I probably shipped out, if I was to have to guess, there's probably about 20 boxes of miniatures, and in some of those boxes had 100 models, right? So not all of them. Some of them had like this one box, it only had 24 models. But it varied. So let's just say, on the average, I'm just trying to do math in my head. On the average, probably about 50 model. No, not even that. There were some smaller orders. Let's say 30 models, 30 to 40 models, times about 20 boxes, I'm guessing. So what does that math come out to? 1,000 miniatures, something like that? I don't know. It was a lot of figures. And, I sold some D&D models, some scratch-built models that I built on my own, some Romans and Macedonians, and I had some wagons. Got rid of them. Got rid of some naked fanatics, some German naked fanatics. Naked fanatics are easy to paint. They're naked. Okay. Yeah. Well, this blister is proof. Yeah. No. Yeah. Like one night, one day I probably spent just 8 hours straight, pulling the bubble wrap out, cutting it down to size, wrapping each model, because that's where this came from. It was wrapping each model, because I wrap each model in bubble wrap and I spin it. I usually spin it around the model with this finger, and I think that's what caused this blister. It's just constant rubbing against that plastic bubble wrap. That's what I think. I probably should have put like a thimble on or something like that, but I wasn't thinking about that. All right, so Epic Waterloo should be coming out in the next week or 2, 3 weeks, something like that. So I should be getting that in. I don't know when. Whenever they decide to start shipping it. I refresh. This is not tea. This is apple cider. Okay. I'm just now remembering. I taste it. I know what it is. It's apple cider. Okay, so I got some buildings in. The first thing I want to talk about is I got some 15 millimeter models here, and here's some 15 millimeter Romans, and I've got a couple of 15 millimeter Napoleonics here. I got a couple of my trees, and then this is the rivers that I just finished making. These are those flexible rivers that I made for the terrain. I wanted to compare these with these other buildings that I have that I'm going to pull out, and I'm going to show you. And they're actually not all the same scale. These are sold by Battle Scale as 10 millimeter, right? Okay, so these are Battle Scale. I'm checking my camera to make sure everything's on camera. 10 millimeters. Okay, these bridges are 10 millimeters as well. Okay, that's good. And I got these in yesterday, and that's probably why they're not primed or painted or anything. I don't know what I'm going to do with these other buildings. They're in my lap. Okay. These came in, they were wrapped up really good, but of course they're coming from the UK. So Oathmark, oh my gosh, I actually have Oathmark. And I've got like 3 skeleton groups of 10. You know, I got the 30-man box or whatever with skeletons, and they're on the shelf. Okay, so when I got these in, and I've got the Oathmark rules and the Oathmark whatever the undead rule book is, the supplement. I thought that would be a really cool game to play fantasy wise, you know. Okay, so when I got this in, I ordered 2 of these. These I ordered specifically for Quatre Bras Napoleonics, but they could be used for anything. Both of these are considered dirt because there's no texture or anything on there. Well, there is texture, but it's just supposed to be a dirt texture. When I got these in, this one, okay, it's good that I can't tell. I must have done a really good gluing job. Okay, it's this guy. Yep, I can see it now. Is it? No, it's not. Okay, it's definitely this one. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's good. That's a good sign. I glued this together. You can see that there's a crack right there, came through it, and this whole column right there busted off. But I glued it back together, and it took me a second to figure out which one it was. So that's a good sign. And once I paint it and texture it up, that'll all disappear, hopefully. This bridge here had an issue as well. I don't know, you can probably see if I angle it right. There's a cracked piece there and a cracked piece there. 2 pieces cracked off. I glued it back together, and hopefully once I apply the texture and the paint and everything, that'll disappear as well. So I just wanted to say that these battle scale guys came packed really well, but they still broke. So that tells me that and these are plaster. They're more like plaster and less like resin. Okay, but remember, these were made these were purchased when I thought I was going to be doing my Napoleonics in 10 millimeter. So I bought these in 10 millimeter. And then from a company called Warbase. I also bought some 10 millimeter models. So these are 10 millimeter wooden model kits. This is a wood model. Okay, hold on. I ordered quite a few of them, and they're fairly inexpensive. They're probably half the cost of these resin / plaster guys. These are heavy too, by the way, and these are super light. But these are on like an MDF board, and these are also 10 millimeter. Okay, I'll stop there because that's all of them. Let me get. I don't know. So let's take a couple of them that are basically the same, like this guy and maybe this guy. These seem to be a little bit bigger than that. Doors a little bit smaller on this guy. Okay, well this guy's definitely tiny because he's single story, but this is like a single story barn or stable or something. I don't remember what it was. But now you're looking at maybe a little taller, but then again, it is a stable, so it's not a house like those guys are. So I'm really trying to compare doorways and stuff. This doesn't have a door. It just has those horse doors or whatever, which are about the same size actually. So I'm comparing doors and heights of the windows. You can see these windows are lower than these windows. So I'm starting to think these guys are a little bit smaller than these guys. The doorways look like they're smaller as well. So, and the second story might be a little off because it's got that side thing. Okay, so I'm not sure. And here's like the mansion or whatever. When you look at it like that, they look like they're exactly the same height. Okay, and that's kind of what I was hoping for. I was hoping that all these would be about the same size. But what I'm trying to get at, okay, and this is ultimately I'm gonna get to it. I'm just kind of leading up to it. Oh, and these are kind of like fantasy. What do you call them? Like it's an outdoor forge or something like that. It's supposed to be a blacksmith shop or something. I thought it was pretty cool, just to have because they're super inexpensive, you know. Okay, so let's get the forges out of the way because I don't think they really pertain to what we're doing. That was part of their fantasy line, but I thought they would look pretty cool. Okay, so if this is a 15 millimeter built here, let's just use this one because the door's in the front. If this is a 10 millimeter building, I like to do my buildings a little bit smaller for when I do mass combat games. You know, like if I'm putting multiple figures on a single base, like Napoleon's battles or whatever, Black Powder, whatever I'm playing, or American War of Independence, you know, Grenadier, Black Powder, or Land of the Free, or whatever I'm doing, if I've got multiple figures on a base, and if each man is representing more than just one man, remember it's not a skirmish level game, then I like to have my buildings a little bit smaller than the figures anyway, right? So I was thinking that 15 millimeter would work really good for, or I keep saying 15, but 10 millimeter buildings, I think will work pretty good with my 15 millimeter Napoleonics, you know, or American War of Independence, which I don't have a unit of 15 millimeter American War of Independence yet. So when you're looking at it from the side, these guys do not reach the second floor. They don't even reach the top of the window, the ground floor window. So I think that's pretty good. And then I also grabbed some 15 millimeter Ancients, even though these buildings wouldn't be used with my Ancients. These are Romans. It seems like these Romans are a little bit taller than these Napoleonics guys. But still, if I had some 10 millimeter like ancient buildings, I think it would work really well. I don't really need any. I thought about this last night when I was placing an order. I was like, I don't really need any ancient buildings because all my ancient battles I plan to run are going to be out in the wilderness. They're going to be in the wooded hills, plains. There might be a Roman fort, but other than that, I don't need like a Greek temple or something. Well, I could have a Greek like shrine or something out there. That would be pretty cool. But I'm gearing my ancients towards the Caesarian. I'm using the Black Powder Age of Caesar scenario book to give me ideas of scenarios. So I'm building my first two armies are going to be Roman and German. So and I don't think I'm going to need any what am I trying to say? I'm not going to need any buildings. All right. I agree, Mike. Yeah, I think so too. I think these are excellent. Now, when you start getting closer to skirmish level games, like each figure represents one man, like World War II, then I'm thinking these buildings wouldn't work, right? Because they are too small. So that's what I was thinking. So I said to and I got some World War II guys out here as well. So, and the World War II game that I'm planning on running is Battle Group. Battle Group is a man-to-man game, but a lot of the figures you see are based multi-figured bases, almost exactly like Bolt Action, because you got like an anti-tank gun with the crew on a single base, except that gun represents one gun and each of those crew represent the one man that mans that crew. So it is a man-to-man game. Like this base is allowed in Battle Group, and it's just counted as two guys standing next to each other, or if you want, you can mount guys individually. They recommend that you do mount them individually, but you don't have to. So like if you already have a Flames of War army, you can use them. You're just going to have to pick and choose which bases you use to equate to the right number of troops you're supposed to have based on the Battle Group lists. Okay, so, but having said that, I got these guys out so that I could look at them compared to these buildings, and they still look good. I mean, they're just a little bit big, but they're the same size as these guys and these guys. They're 15 millimeters. They're actually probably closer to 13 millimeters. Okay. But I went ahead, and knowing that I'm going to be doing American War of Independence in 15 millimeter. And I wasn't sure what scale these buildings were going to be because they were in limbo land, you know. I went ahead and ordered some Sarissa 15 millimeter buildings. All right. And so, like that building, the covered bridge, this is an actual 15 millimeter American War of Independence colonial style covered bridge, right? So you got this covered bridge, or you could have it as just a non-covered bridge, which is probably how I'm going to always have it, just so that troops can cross the bridge, right? Okay, great. Also, remember, this is the river that I made for my 15s. I noticed that fits perfectly over. So that's like the most awesome bridge. Okay. But then when I got these in last night, I said to myself, damn, these are giant bridges. I mean, this is a 15 millimeter bridge, and this is supposed to be a 10 millimeter bridge. You know what I'm saying? It's like a giant. Could this guy easily walk across that bridge? Yes, he could. Okay. And this tank can even fit in there, right? But it's an M5. It's a M5 Stuart. But if I going forward, I'm going to not base my tanks. I might base my Jeeps and my trucks, but my tanks I'm not going to base. And so they should fit very easily on these bridges. So my next concern was, are they going to work with these? And they do. They work. They don't wobble or anything. I thought they would sit on there and kind of teeter or whatever, but they don't. They sit pretty flat. And this is not on a table mat. This is actually a cutting board, and it's still sitting on there pretty good. Now I can use these bridges for my ancients, my Napoleonics, my World War II, my American War of Independence. I mean, it's just a brick. Yeah, I mean a stone bridge. So I don't see why I can't use it everywhere. So I think I'm good on my bridges. As you can see, I've got a jillion bridges. Okay. But not only did I order this covered bridge, I ordered some 15 millimeter farm buildings. Or just, just various buildings. And these are all wood as well. Because they're Sarissa. All they are primed. They're not... There's nothing special about these guys. I haven't painted them or anything. Now, these guys are definitely bigger than these guys. Right? You can see a big difference. But what I'm not planning on doing is using these buildings when I use these buildings. These buildings are only going to be used during my American War of Independence, along with this guy. This is a 2-story building, and if this was a 2-story building, you can kind of really see the disparity in height. So, Napoleonics, definitely, no problem. I can use all these 10 millimeters. American War of Independence, I'm only going to use these 15 millimeter buildings. And, oh yeah, I got this one too. Boom. Awesomeness. Okay, so using Napoleonic figures to represent my American War of Independence troops, they look good. There's no problem there. Right, so scale-wise, it works out. It works out really good. Okay, so these are going to be a little bit larger. I was planning on making a base for each of the buildings and giving it a town sector, and then when you go to especially in Napoleonics, when you go to occupy the building, that you put the figures inside the town sector to make it look like it's occupied, like there's a fence or a wall or something like that around it. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to default to the base, putting the base to the back of the building saying it's deployed, or I should say occupied. What that'll do is it'll give me I don't know about that yet for sure, but that's my thought process. I think I'm just going to, especially the 15 millimeter buildings, because they occupy more area on the table, not to give them their unique battle, their occupation zone or whatever. I'm not going to do that. For the 10 millimeter buildings, I think I am, for my Napoleonics games, I think I'm going to give them like a little town sector and then put one of these buildings in the town sector. I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, finally, last bit of little building knowledge here. N-scale trains, right? I've had these buildings for, I don't know, 30 years. I don't know, super long. There we go. I got that guy and I got this guy, and they are N-scale. And they match out pretty strong. Come on. With my 15s. They work out really well. So if I can find some really good looking N-scale train buildings that look like they would work in World War II or in what's the word I'm thinking? American War of Independence, colonial, or whatever. Even on maybe a log cabin might even work. I don't know. That I might consider those. I have once I got these guys in and I put them together for my American War of Independence, like I'm planning on doing Freeman's Farm again. When I got these buildings in, I was like, oh, these are going to be perfect scale for my World War II guys, right? Perfect scale. So I went ahead and ordered like 6 to 8 World War II buildings from Sarissa. Yeah, so, and that was just like last night. All right, so let's go ahead and clean these out. That's my building status right now. I don't have any ancient buildings. I am also working on a 100 Years War project, but that's not going to be right away. I postponed that project. I am going to do it, but I'm going to wait until I get my American War of Independence project, at least the Freeman's Farm units finished, and enough World War II figures to be able to do Lafier Bridge, which I'm getting ready to show you here in just a second. I've got like 3 different scenario books that have a Lafier Bridge in it, and I'm going to be able to... Oh, what am I doing? Not the resin ones. Keep the resin ones. I want to prime them. Okay, which I can do later. These wood ones. I'm not in really a hurry to prime them because I'm not in a hurry to use them. You know what I mean? I've got all these other commissions I got to paint. So that's really what I'm going to do. Okay. So I think these flexible rivers came out extremely well, and even the small bridges work well on my flexible rivers. I mean, there's a little wobble here, but if I had my what is it? My table mat out that has the really thick fur on it, you're not going to notice that. Not at all. Okay. Crush, 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 crush. Okay. Next topic. Okay, what do we got? I just wanted to show you all those buildings, the N scale buildings compared to the 15s. They look like they're exactly the same. The 10 mil bases are great. They're a little bit smaller than the 15s, but they're great for like mass combat games, in my opinion. All right, so I don't know if you know this. I don't know who's out there. If you haven't come to any of these, you might not know this, but I'm super excited to not announce, but to just let you know that I am currently in the process. I've already started writing this. I'm going to write my own set of Napoleonic rules. I have only really like an outline. I got some numbers in my head, charts and tables in my head, and I've put some of it down. And it's a work in progress, so I could change it or flip it around or anything like that. But let me show you this. Perfect. Okay, so I have it called turnbacks and plumes. That's not necessarily what I'm going to call it. But basically, I wanted it to be. I thought about something like bayonets and cuirasses, or just call it cuirassier, or just call it fusilier, or something like that. Is what I was thinking about. But I considered the turnback. Every uniform in the Napoleonic period, pretty much, there's like only a handful, but almost everybody has turnbacks, which is the tail of your coat flipped back and buttoned, and it's just a uniform style, And so I thought about just calling it turnback, but then I thought, okay, you gotta have two names. And I want to get rid of the and, because that's a third name. So yeah, turnbacks and something. I don't think I want to name it that. Like horse and saber. I don't think I want that. I want it to be two words but I don't want the and in there. So I could put turnback plumes, but that doesn't sound right. So there's a lot of thinking involved. But I don't anticipate finishing these rules by the end of the year. I anticipate, and this is where I was getting at, I anticipate finishing these rules, because I'm pecking at it. Like every night, I'm adding a few words, adding a few things, and I'm going to scroll down so you can see some of the things that I've written. But we're not going to go over everything. I'm just going to give you a quick glance at it. I'm writing these rules because I've played so many others. So, whoa, what's going on here? We got okay, so it looks like love face is spam. I would ignore that. I don't know what the message is, and I'm not going to show it. I'm going to leave it. It says held for review. So that tells me that he's trying to sell something. Okay, so ignore that if you can see that. If you can't see it, it's because it's being held. I've played over my extensive career, I'm going to say career, of gaming. I started gaming in the 70s, and I've played so many different sets of rules. Some of them are really good, but they're not great. Some of them are really bad, but they had great things in them. So I'm looking at all these different rule sets in my head. I don't remember all the rules to all these games. There's no way, right? Especially the ones I played 20, 30 years ago. But some of them I remember vividly as a great rule and why it was a great rule. And what I'm trying to do with this rule set, it might be successful, it might not. But what I'm trying to do is cherry pick rules, ideas, concepts from all these other people that came before me. And they had this really great, like this one guy had this really great concept of command, but all these other rules didn't. Or his shooting and melee sucked. So I might take his command rules. And then on this other game that I played, I really loved the way they did morale. So I'm going to take that. And then this other game, I really liked the way they did movement. So I'm going to take a little bit of that. So some games don't even capture the... I'm designing this game in a way that it... I don't think it's going to play, I hope. I don't want it to play like any other game out there, but I want it to represent what you think a Napoleonic game should play like. I want it to be easy. Number one, I want it to be easy to understand. Not easy to play, obviously, but I want it to be easy to understand the concepts of the game. I want it to be easy to learn. So if you own a set of rules and you have a group of friends come over and you want to teach them the rules, you can do it in 15 minutes or less. There might be a little bit of nuance and a little bit of complication. You might have to refer to the rules, but they'll have a 80% understanding of the rules in 15 minutes. And I want the game to flow. And here it is. I want it to be fun, right? I don't want it to be bogged down in too many rules where you're constantly looking up, okay, how many bullets does this guy carrying? Or did he sharpen his bayonet the night before? That's not the kind of rules this is. Okay, so as you can see, I've got like a very bare bones. I'm gonna talk about the introduction, right? The introduction, I've already written it, or written most of it. It's right there. It basically says what I just told you, but it also says who I am, where I'm coming from, what experience in gaming that I have, why I wanted to write these rules, and what the purpose of, general concept, of battalions and how many figures are on it, what they represent, etc., etc. Right? And then the next set is scale and basing. So I have this idea that 4 bases is going to represent a battalion on the table, which equates to approximately 1 base is a company, but not exactly. It's not that, just overall, it's not that the 4 bases represent something, because they don't. Let me back up. Each base doesn't represent something. 4 bases represent the battalion and the area that the battalion occupies. If I wanted to, I thought about this. If I wanted to, I could just have one large base the size of those 4 bases and just put all the figures on this one large base and move it around like that. Because that's pretty much how the rules are going to work. But I wanted to break it down into 4 bases so that if you wanted to, you could use your figures with other rule systems. So it's kind of giving you the flexibility to. So basically, what you could do, and this is going to be suggested when I get into writing that part of it, when you get your 4 bases and they're put together and the figures are all mounted on them and everything, you could make a movement tray, put them in the movement tray, or magnetize them and put them on a large magnet base, or put them in a movement tray and leave them in there, and then just move them around in the movement tray, because you're never going to have to change formation. Okay, so, and that'll be explained why. So the idea is, and the concept is, you as a army general or army commander, you as the player, you're sitting up there and or even corps. I'm a corps commander. I'm not going to send a message to that battalion to tell him to form a line. That's not the job of the corps commander. The division commander is not going to send a message to that battalion to tell him to form a line. The brigade commander would do that. The brigade commander is under direct control of that battalion, and he would do that. But you're not playing the brigade commander. You're not playing the division commander. You're playing the corps commander. So you are multiple levels of command removed from that battalion. So that should not be something that occupies your player's mind. You should not be saying, I've got to put these guys in square. I've got to put these guys in line. I got to put these guys in column. No. That's going to be resolved by the rules. I'm going to allow the dice and the brigade commanders to command their own brigade, and you're not going to do that. You're going to put them in a position to succeed, but you're not going to micromanage. And that's the idea. So that's why you don't need to worry about having them change formation or something like that. Okay. So, and I've got brigade commanders not used. Like you'll have a division commander, and then you'll have all your battalions. Like if you have multiple brigades as part of your division, you'll just count them all as a bunch of battalions in your division. And then, and you'll have a command radius that they'll all have to stay in or something like that. And then you'll be able to influence their activation. And that's where this next part of the rules come in. The numbers are not set in stone, the number of dice, the type of dice, all of that I'm still working out. But right now I've got it where a division commander rolls a D10 and then modifies it by his leadership rating. And that's how many battalions get to move and do things in his division. So if you've got 10 units of battalions in your division, you might or might not roll a 10, right? You might roll a 4 or a 5, and then maybe maybe you're a really good division commander, maybe you add 2 to that roll. So if you've got like a 7, then you could move 7 units and 3 of them would be helpless, or they would be motionless, not activated. And so that basically means that you'll be leapfrogging a little bit, or maybe you'll get really good rolls, or you will be happy to play French because their division battalions, or let me rephrase that, they have a lot more division commanders. So that basically means each division will have less battalions, so they'll inadvertently, it'll automatically give those divisions more command and control, not because they're better, but because they have less to control. Okay, so we'll get back to that. Okay, then we got movement. Like, I don't know anything about movement. I'm not sure how I want to do that. And then shooting, you can see how much I've worked out on shooting and close combat and routing. So that's basically where I'm at right now with those rules. I am planning on writing them. I don't think I'll have them done by the end of the year. When I get them done, I'll let you know, obviously. I am going to NashCon this year in August. I already have a hotel room that's already reserved. It's already paid for. So I'm going to be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, actually, I'm probably going to be there. I'm going to arrive on Friday and leave on Sunday. But I won't be able to run my rules at that convention because that's too soon. It's just too soon. So the following year, I do think I would be able to run that game. So in the meantime, I've decided that there's 2 games that I would like to run. One of them is called Land of the Free. Oh, wait. You're still seeing my screen. Hold on. Get rid of that screen. Yeah, one of them is called Land of the Free. It's an Osprey game. You can pick up Land of the Free. I've noticed you could pick up Land of the Free on Amazon for $15. It's a fairly thick book, but don't be intimidated by that because that much of the book is all scenarios. That's the rules. So it's only half a book of rules. And I really like this set of rules. This set of rules is... I'm probably going to crib my Napoleonic rules. There's going to be some rules from this that I take. This is a great game. 100% I like this game. So I'm thinking of running a Freeman's Farm scenario using these rules in 15 millimeter. Okay, we're not going to talk about this one today. That's not what I wanted to talk about. We'll talk about that in a future video. But today I wanted to talk about I'm going to talk about this rule set as well before we get too far. Okay, so I've got this game called Meg. That's not what it's called. That's what people call it. I don't call it Meg. I do call it Meg, but I don't mean to call it Meg. It's Mortem et Gloriam. What is that? Death before honor or something like that? or there's honor and death, I think is what that means. I don't know what it means. This is the compendium edition, so it's basically their second edition. It is an ancient set of rules for biblical all the way up to War of the Roses. Basically, it has now it has 3 scales. And when I say scale, I don't mean miniature scale. I mean battle scale. They have a thing called pacto, which basically means in Latin compact. And then they have a set called magna, which means large. And then they have one called maximus, which means massive. And so in a pacto game, your units are only going to be like 2 bases. But in a magna game, your units are going to be 4 bases. And then like in a maximus game, your units are going to be like 6 bases. So it scales in how many bases you put on the table. And that's described in like a third of this book. And then generals, and there's a lot of pictures and a lot of tables which take up a lot of pages, but you know, a lot of space in this book is filled up with pictures. So it's really not a ton of rules. I mean, it is kind of a lot of rules. This game was kind of designed for competitions, a lot like Field of Glory, but it's super easy to convert these rules into like a scenario or something like that. Yeah, like, and I was thinking Magna playing in the middle, but like it says a pacto can be played in 90 minutes, and a Magna is 2 hours, where Maximus is about 3 hours. And you play a pacto game with about 20 or 30 bases. So I think that, but I'm not going to shoot for pacto. I'm shooting for Magna. I want to play or run, like I was saying, the Age of Caesar scenarios using this rule set in a Magna, the middle scale. And so I'm going to be working on that, but I don't think I'm going to run this at NashCon this year. I don't think so, because I don't think I can. I don't know, because I haven't finished reading these rules. I've only gotten about 1/3 of the way through these rules. I don't think, though, it's just my mind working, that I could set a table up, get some players to sit around the table, explain the rules, and then play a game. It does say that a Magna game should only take 2 hours. So if I can explain the rules in 2 hours, I'm sure I can do that. I'm sure I can explain the rules in an hour. But yeah, for a convention, I'm not sure if this is a good set of rules for people that don't know how to play. But maybe. I'm excited about these rules. I am excited about these rules. Hail Caesar is a good set of rules, but it's designed to be played like Black Powder. It's kind of like you're moving battalions around. It's weird. It's got a weird feeling to it. But this was written by a South African individual, Simon Hall, and the way the dice work, because they have special dice, they're color coded, and they have symbols on them that mean certain things. Those dice it's an ingenious way of doing a D6 roll. And the chart is built into the die. You don't have to reference a chart because it's in the die. I think that speeds things up too. And the way things are moved, it's very simple. You know, you get so many base widths. So if your army is got a bunch of guys with 40 millimeter bases, then, and if these guys can move, hypothetically, if these guys could move 3 base widths, then you'd need a measuring stick with 40 millimeter increments, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how they would move, right? But if you have an army set on 60 millimeter bases, then your base width scale would be 60. So you would just have a measuring stick with 60 millimeters, and you just 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just think it's really cool. It's a cool set of rules. I can't speak highly enough about it, but again, I haven't finished reading them, so it's a tentative thumbs up. Okay. Finally, this is going to occupy the next hour. Battle group. Okay. Surprisingly enough, I went to this company called Plastic Soldier Company. You can probably see some British guys over here from the Plastic Soldier Company. I went to this company called Plastic Soldier Company specifically to order Meg, right? Because Meg is also from the Plastic Soldier Company. So I went there and I ordered this, and then I kind of was just browsing around. They sell a bunch of miniatures there. They sell Pacto armies in a box, so that way you don't have to go shopping anywhere else and pick and choose your army. You could just get one of those starter armies. But I don't necessarily like what's in those starter armies, or they don't have exactly what I need for whatever I'm doing, because I'm not doing Pacto for one thing. I'm doing Magna. And they don't necessarily have the troop compositions in them that I might be using. They might have more skirmishers than I need, or they might have less warriors or more legionaries than I need, or whatever. So I decided not to order their starter armies, but they do have them, and they're plastic. And if you're into that, you can get some plastic Romans or whatever, and they're not terribly expensive. They are probably about half the price of an Old Glory metal figure. And Old Glories are pretty inexpensive. So, yeah. So I was looking around. I'm getting distracted. I started looking around, and I saw that they had a World War II game. Boop, Battle Group. So I was like, what the heck is this? So I got online, got on the tube. Oh, all right, Mike. So I got on the YouTubes, right? And I looked to see if there was anybody doing battle reports or explaining the rules or whatever. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't mean to disrespect anybody or not be very appreciative, because I am extremely appreciative, because I learned a hell of a lot from these guys that did their book reviews, tutorials, battle reports. But I'm just going to have to say this, and I don't. It's going to be on the internet. There's only one guy out there that explains the rules in detail. There's only one. Inaccurate Gamer or Inaccurate something. He used to play Flames of War. He got this set of rules and he converted to this set of rules. First of all, that tells me how much that was a huge review just by him saying that for this set of rules. And then he went into explaining the rules. He is worse than I am. I am the worst. I am dry. I am not. I have no energy. I talk like this on my videos. He was worse than that. And he's the only one. So I give you my promise. I give you my promise. And plus, that was like 7 years ago. This game's been out that long, and it went under the radar for me. And because I kind of got away from 15 millimeters, I kind of got away from the whole World War II scene. I'm surprised I still have these British paratroopers. But I kind of got away from that scene, and you can see these guys are still, they've been like that for 7 years. And so with his dry, matter of fact, this is how, didn't even have the rule book on the screen, didn't have any figures, like if this guy is over here and this guy is over here and he wants to do this, this is how it's done. None of that is in his videos. And then he played some battle reports, which I kind of picked up on what he was doing, but I didn't know what he was doing because the no explanation. It's just they played. And so I was like, okay, so that's cool. Then I went and watched a couple of other people's battle reports, and just over the course of like 3 or 4 days, because I crammed this over the course of like 3 or 4 days, I realized there were some really good concepts in this book. I don't know the rules. You can't learn them by watching those videos, or at least I couldn't get through his tutorials. So I said, F it. I'm just going to order these rules. They were only like $15, right? I said, okay, I'll order these rules. And then I said, if I order these rules, since I'm here, let me go ahead and I never said I don't commit. I ordered Battle Group Overlord. Okay, let's put that over here. And of course, I had to order Market Garden. Had to get the Market Garden book. And of course, me, I had to get Locked on Rhine, Battle of the Bulge. Had to get that. So I got 3 campaign books. I'm really surprised that the Locked on Rhine book is half the size of the Market Garden and the Overlord book. But I think, and all 3 of these books are super heavy. But yeah, so I got these in. I haven't really had a chance to read these. I have looked through the Overlord D-Day book. I'm pretty happy about that. It does talk about the units that were there, some special rules for like beach landings or paratrooper drops, stuff like that. Also in the Market Garden book, it talks about that, taking bridges, blowing bridges and stuff. So each one of these books gives you a little bit of additional rules for that campaign, but very few, like 2 or 3. So it's not like overwhelming. And I ordered some of these cards, right? This is the USA cards, which I have not opened. This is still sealed. I did order the USA. Okay, I ordered them, but I also ordered the British and the German. Why? Because D-Day, Market Garden, Battle of the Bulge. They have cards for like Russians and early war and late war and stuff like that. And so if you're into Russians, they've got Kursk, they've got Bagration, they've even got another Normandy book, but it's the hedgerow country and not like the initial days. Were these needed? No, you got all the information in the rule book, but it's just convenient. All right. So I was going through the campaign books and just trying to decide like what kind of a scenario I would like to play first, what I would kind of like to that is sensitive. So what battle I would like to aim towards. So I was flipping through and I came to this one in the D-Day book that kind of struck my interest. It was called Timeline. No, that's not what it's called. It's way in the back. Scenarios are in the back. In the middle, it talks about the different units that participated. Excuse me, I had to mute. I had a bad cough there. Like the 6th Airborne Division, the 101st, 82nd, 21st Panzer. But more than that, it talks about like the M7 Priest. Like, what is it? Why was it used? Where was it used? The Staghound, the Crusader, the Churchill. And it talks about all those different vehicles. And then it also talks about... okay, where's it at? Okay. The army lists. So it goes into the point breakdowns and what's in each unit and stuff like that. But of course you don't have to abide by the points. That's just if you were playing a competitive game with someone and they were wanting to like, hey, let's bring 1,200 points to the table and see what we can do. But you don't have to do that. I tend to never do that. But having the points does help me as a scenario designer know, hey, I'm overpowering the Americans too much. I'm giving them 12,000 points when I should be giving the Germans 12,000. So basically it helps me out that way. They talk about the amphibious units. 116th Regiment, 29th Infantry Division. And then it gets to halfway through the book, approximately. We start in the scenarios. Atlantic Wall. Now, what's kind of cool about what's extremely cool about these scenarios are they tell you this is what is there. This is how many units are there. So they've already spent your points. You don't have to worry about it. They already got you your army list. So that tells me they put some thought into what was actually there. Right? Battles for the beaches. They explain how to do like a beach battle. Storming the Lafire Causeway. Here it is. When I saw that scenario, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but when I saw that scenario, I was like, wait, I recognize that name. That's a battle I ran at NashCon like 10 years ago. Using a totally different set of rules. I think I ran that game in 20 millimeter using plastic, Airfix models. And I think I ran it using a rule set called Operation Overlord. And I made a bunch of terrain tiles, 1 foot by 1 foot, to represent this battlefield. And I think I have those out in the garage. I think they're in boxes out in the garage. I think I know exactly where they're at. But I'm not doing it in 20 millimeter. I'm doing it in 15 millimeter. So I'm going to have to get those tiles out at one point, lay them out on the table, and see if they will work with the 15s. I have a feeling they will. It just means the roads will be a little bit wider. But other than that, everything should be fine. So I'm going to have to take a look at that. Okay, it gives you the special rules for the flooded ground. Gives you the objectives. It tells you who were there, what turn troops show up. It gives you a little map. And then it gives you who the German defenders are, who the U.S. attackers are. It breaks it down into a battle where you could have 3 players per side. Each player would control a platoon of guys. So you got basically a company per side, with tanks and anti-tank guns and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I think I could do that. Because I'm looking at it, it's only a company per side, so that's pretty simple, right? Modeling wise, I think I could put that together, no problem. And based on their map, there's only like 6 buildings, 1 bridge, so I should have there's a bunch of bocage and hedges and trees. Trees I already got. Trees, I'm setting up my trees for all my battles, and they're all basically the N scale trees. So I'm gonna have trees, but the bocage I'm gonna have to make. The river I've already got. I've got it on the Flex River, no problem. There's like an unmarked minefield and stuff like that. And this is played on an 8-foot table, no problem. Should have no problem with that. And yeah, the Americans are the attackers. Okay. That scale is called game size platoon. And I think it just basically means each player controls a platoon. So I could scale it up or scale it down, but I don't want to do that. I want it to be historical. So I'm going to also confer with my skirmish campaign book. I have this skirmish campaign, Normandy, the First Hours, and this is the scenario that I ran at the convention using Overlord. And if I skip to it, that's the beach. Breakhor Manor is in here. St. Mary-Glise, which actually jump in. Okay, there's 3 battles that they have set up in this book. One of them is called Advanced to Lofir, and what that is the early morning. It's still kind of dark out or whatever. It's 8 a.m. and you're taking your A company forward, trying to take the bridge, and there's Germans defending, so you have to fight your way through the bridge. Not planning on that one. Advance to Lafir. Not planning on doing that one. That's a one-on-one. It's one platoon against one platoon. Lafir Counterattack. I don't think that's the one we did. Might be. I think I ran all these scenarios. Okay, I've got this marked like these are the terrain tiles that I made. Okay. Because see, this was played on a 4x6 table. And just by this is the Lafir counterattack. If I look at the units, it's basically the Germans get one platoon and the Americans get a platoon with a bunch of attachments. So basically, this book is giving you about 1/3 the troops that the battle group books give. But again, this has three distinct battles. So what they're basically doing, I think, in that is including all three of those attacks on one table to be run in one session. Where this is more of a skirmish game. Well, that's supposed to be a skirmish game as well. Battle group is supposed to be skirmish, but it's kind of not. You know, individual men do die, but it's not like I said, you can use your Flames of War bases like this and still moving around, or you can mount them individually. These are 20mm circles on a 15mm figure. I think these circles are too big. I'm considering figuring out a 15mm circle if I could find that. Mounting these guys on 15mm circles, and just as a test to see if they look, if they stand up, and if it looks good. Because if it does, I think I'm going to take all my miniatures and mount them individually. You know, the ones that need to be mounted individually, I'll mount them individually. Like a machine gun team, I'll mount together on a base, or a mortar team, or an anti-tank gun, or bazooka team, or stuff like that, where there's a couple of guys that are always going to work together. Then I'll probably mount them on double team bases. I'm not exactly sure I want to do that, because Battle Group doesn't care how you base it, so they leave that up to you. They do have rules to play this in 15 and 20mm. So if I still had my 20mm guys, I could have played Battle Group using my 20mm, but I've gotten rid of them a long time ago. Okay. Let's take a look at these Battle Group rules. I'm just going to kind of thumb through it and kind of just share some knowledge with you guys. But I do plan, once I get some figs painted up and ready to go, I think I will do some tutorials and update the community out there, because those tutorials that I watched were kind of not good. Okay, the first page basically says this is what we've changed. Also, you'll notice these rules are not thick. These rules are fairly thin, and if I was to take okay, that's into battle, that's the scenarios, and that's a picture. Battlefield engineering, aircraft. Yeah, so the rules are technically only that thick, and so that's 64 pages starting on 5. So we'll just call it an even 60 pages. That seems very manageable for me. And half of this book is pictures. Okay, so getting started, cooperation, what scale are you playing, measuring distances, gauging line of sight. Then they basically tell you, are you playing a squad level game, a platoon level game, a company level game, battalion level game? And this is how many points you would use and how big of a table you would need for that. And then it starts with the rules, which actually starts on page 11. The turn. I'm going to go real quick. You roll dice. That's how many units get to act. With that 3-player game, each one is going to be considered running a platoon, so they would roll 2 dice, but then there is going to be a company commander on the table. I think he's going to roll 1 die and disseminate those points to his platoon leaders so that they can use them to move their guys. I think. I don't know how I'm going to work it out, but I think that's part of the rules. Okay, or the scenario rules. Okay, so you issue orders, and there's things they can do. Great. And then there's movement. Everybody knows that movement is measuring and moving figures. Okay, open fire. There's 2 different ways of firing. There's suppression, which basically means you lob bullets into an area. You have a really high chance to suppress them, but you're probably not going to do any damage. And then aimed fire is you're shooting directly at certain guys. You're trying to knock figures off the table. In this game, when you shoot and you do a casualty, you remove a man. So if there is a figure base like this that has like 3 guys on it, then when I lose a guy, I'm going to have to use a casualty cap or something like that to put it on there saying that that guy is dead. D-E-D, dead. Okay. Aimed fire has a special rule, or it's part of the rules, where it's like multiple rolls. I kind of don't like that, but I understand why it's in the rules. It's going to slow the game down, but I don't think that it slows it down enough to constitute a whine. Like, boo-hoo! You have to roll a die to see your target. If you don't see the target, there's no second roll, so you just move on. But if you do see the target, now you have to roll to hit. And then if it's a tank, then you have to roll to penetrate. If it's not a tank, then I don't know yet. I haven't read the rules. There is a cover save. Okay. It has a whole page on explaining. It has a whole page on it. Let's get you on the camera. Whole page on explaining why you make observation rolls. That's good. A whole nother page of charts. Okay. Small arms, rate of fire. Like a rifle has a rate of fire of 1. So if you got 10 guys shooting, that's a rate of fire of 10. How easy math is that? If it's submachine gun, it's 1 or 2, whatever that means. If it's under 5 inches, okay, got it. To hit table, you got your small arms. Can shoot out to like 30 inches. Okay. 2 feet. Cover save. Infantry in the open, they get a 6+ cover save. Well, that's saying they're either prone or hit them in the helmet, or it just hits their canteen. And then they get all wet and scream out that they're bleeding. Who remembers where that was from? That was a movie. And then there's a thing about infantry weapons of World War II. It goes into, it doesn't have any rules. Well, actually, it does. Okay, light machine gun. Blah, blah, blah. Brun gun, BAR, DP, known as the record player. All light machine guns have a rate of fire of 2 and a maximum range of 30. Some vehicles also mount light machine guns rather than heavier machine guns. Okay. All infantry are assumed to have a rifle. Okay. Even if it's an M1 or a Car 98. Okay. So you get one rate of fire whether you got an auto rifle or a bolt action. Doesn't matter. Okay. Aimed fire with high explosives. Great. Aimed fire with armor piercing. We talked about that. What's the front? What's the side? Indirect fire with artillery. Am I going to have to make some templates? I'm going to have to double check that. Or can I use my bolt action templates? We'll have to look at that. Because I'm sure they're going to have a area of fire. I don't see that. Haven't got that far yet. There's, okay, morale. This is, I'm not going to read the morale. Okay, battle rating system. This is what turned me on to this game. The battle rating system is, and then there's special rules, aircraft, and anti-aircraft fire. And that's pretty much it. So, let me take a quick break, 2 minutes, and I'll be right back. I don't know how long that was. I didn't time it. But, okay, so the battle rating system. I want to touch on a couple of rules that really triggered my interest in these rules. You have a unit, your force. You have your army or whatever. It has a battle rating. This battle rating is a number. I don't like the... I like the label of battle rating, but they need to come up with a better name for how it is impacted. But that's neither here nor there. So you have a bag with these chits in it. These chits go from 1 up to 5. And they're not like, you don't have like 5 1s, 5 2s, 5 3s. It's not like that. There's a few 1s, a lot of 2s, 3s, and 4s, and very few 5s. So it's an averaging chit. But there's also there's more than how many 5s are in there. There's these specialty chits like minefield, airstrike, I don't know, random. There's some random specialty chits, and I think depending on the scenario, you don't always put every chit in there, but you might put every chit in there. Okay, so now when do you draw a chit? Well, you don't ever want to draw a chit, because as you are required to draw chits, you keep it secret, but you know the number. And when the number builds up and it equates to your battle rating, you've lost the game, right? It's a way to put pressure on your force gradually over time to a point where you give up, right? Your troops retreat, fall back, run away, whatever. So let's say they've got a tank, and this tank blasts your guys with a shell or whatever. And the result of that attack was your unit is suppressed. Okay. In every other game that I've ever played, the suppression just wears off. Like at the end of the turn, you get to remove your suppression, or the commander rolls 2 dice, and if he rolls a 7 or more, you remove your suppression. Wrong. In this game, which I really like, is that if you want to remove the suppression, you have to draw a chit. And I'm like, damn. So what that is basically saying is, yes, you get them to get back on their feet, but they don't like it. Like they're ready to run. You know, you've talked to them back onto their gun, but they're ready to give up. And the more times and the more different units you have to rally, you have to draw a chit. Or if a unit is destroyed, you have to draw a chit. Or if the enemy takes the objective, you have to draw a chit. And so basically this chit system is, in my opinion, is the fundamental core mechanic behind this game. Now, I'm the attacker. Let's say I'm that tank, and I blew these guys up, and I forced him to draw a chit. I don't know what that number is. He might have drew a 1. He might have drawn a 5. I don't know. So I know what his battle rating is. You know, it's probably a 30. But I don't know how close to it is. Maybe I've made him draw 5 or 6 chits, and I'm thinking I'm doing really good. But he's only got 6 points over there. So he's doing really good. So there's a little bit of secrecy there. You don't know if he's ready to break and run. I think that's an excellent set of rules. I mean, that's a great mechanic for the overall morale of your force. The observation rule, where you got to see them before you can shoot them, I think is normally done through automation in a lot of these other games. Like, is he within 6 inches and behind a hedge? You can see him. No. In this one, he's at 6 inches, he's behind a hedge, roll a die. Let's see if you can see him. You know, in that chit system, you could, this is weird, I think it's advantageous to draw this. I'm not sure, I haven't read the rules. But from what my understanding is, if you shoot me and I become pinned, and I use my commander to remove my pin. He has to reach in the bag and draw a chit out. Okay, which is normally a 1 through 5 was bad. But remember those special chits. One of them could be an airstrike. And then that commander that had to draw the chit gets to perform an airstrike on you. And they do not lose anything. So I think that's backwards, but I'm probably misinterpreting what I watched on YouTube. And that's another reason why I want to go back in and make my own tutorials. But give me a chance to read these rules. I've decided I am going to do the Lafir Bridge. I'm going to try to work out the terrain. I'm going to build the force. I might or might not put them on individual 15 millimeter bases. I don't think I'm going to make some bases. No. 20 millimeter bases, I've got millions of those. 20 millimeter bases. I might not even do, I might only do a few people like the command figures or snipers or something like that individually. So I could probably do them on 20s and do everybody else on multiple bases anyway. So I'm probably never going to use those round bases. And then just use casualty caps when guys get killed. That's probably the way I'm going to do it. Okay, so I wanted to do this. And this is the last thing we'll do before I bail. I picked these up when I bought those rules because these were the only ones they had available. And plus, I didn't want to commit to them because I didn't know what the quality was or what the scale of these figures are. So I picked up some British paratroopers, right? I don't know if you can see that. British paratroopers. You get 144 figures. I also picked up heavy weapons. You get 64 figures and 16 models. Okay, so what I'm thinking that those models are, I've already looked at these. I pulled them out, I took a look at them. So this is not an unboxing. Okay. All 4 of these sprues are the same. They come on their own bases. But that's like a 10 millimeter base. Okay. What's this? It's an anti-tank gun. 6-pounder. Wait a second. There's 2 barrels. What? Oh, what? It's the muzzle brake looks different on both of these. Hold on. Is one a 6 and one a 17? I don't think so. I think they're both 6-pounders. You got the gun shield, the wheels, the carriage. You get the crew. That's cool. I've got a machine gun, water cooled, tripod, ammo loader. Over here I got a mortar. A couple of guys with berets and binoculars. Okay, that's great. Oh. 80 millimeter. That's probably the 60 millimeter 2-inch, and that's probably the 3-inch. And some accessories of like shells on the ground and stuff. Okay, so I've already got like 4 anti-tank guns, 4 heavy mortars, 4 light mortars, 4 machine guns, just out of these 4 sprues. But the reason why I wanted to bust these guys out before we take off, I didn't want to bust them off the sprue or anything. I just wanted to compare them to my Old Glory guys, just to give me an idea. They are a little bit bigger, maybe 1 millimeter. I'm going eye to eye. Yeah, there's. Okay, now this guy looks short. No, okay. Maybe it's just that guy. Let me get this guy. This is an 8th Army guy, British in the desert. Yep. The Old Glory guys are just a hair shorter. Like these guys are probably 13.5. And these guys are probably true 15s. Yep. Yep. These guys look like they're true 15s. I'm measuring on my millimeter. So that's 10 millimeter. And then the eye is directly halfway. Yep. These guys are definitely 15 millimeter. Which is awesome. And these guys are probably just a hair short, because there's a German. Just a hair shorter than 15 millimeters. But it's hard to tell. I mean, it's really super hard to tell. They're super close to being exactly the same height. It looks like it's only 1 millimeter, like maybe these guys are 14 millimeter. Now the British Paras, they come in a couple of different sprues, I think. You got that set of sprues. And then this set of sprues, which is and then there's a loose guy. Okay. Forgot about him. There is a loose guy. He fell off. The infantry sprue has a Bren gun guy laying down, a loader for the Bren gun laying with him, and then a bunch of other dudes, just infantry. So every one of these sprues, okay, every one of these, out of 6 sprues, you get a Bren gun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You get 12 guys per Bren gun sprue. So you get 2 guys, the gunner and the assistant, Bren gun, and 10 infantry on each of those sprues. Okay. Now on this sprue, I get a Piat, a radio man, a Piat loader, a couple officers. That is loading something. A mortar. There is a light mortar. Paratrooper light type mortar. I wonder if this guy is a medic. It's hard to tell. He's reaching into a bag to get something. And then you got like a spotter with binoculars here. Yeah, okay. I've ordered from 4 companies some World War II infantry. I ordered some Plastic Soldier. I don't think I ordered any Americans because they were out of them. And I knew I needed Americans for Lafier Bridge. So I went to 2 other places. I ordered other things from these guys. I don't remember. tanks and jeeps and stuff like that. But I went to Battlefront Flames of War. Got some Flames of War box sets. They sell them by the company or by the platoon. The companies only come with 2 platoons, so I ordered like a company and 1 platoon. And I was noticing, this is new, I've been out of the loop. Flames of War now has plastic infantry. They never did in the past. But they did now. So I said, okay, let's get some Germans and let's get some American paratroopers. And then I went to Battle Honors. It's on the Old Glory website. The Old Glory 25s has 15mm World War II Battle Honors, and I ordered specifically guys in foxholes. And this is really just aesthetic, because there are some guys in foxholes in the scenario. And basically, I saw that foxholes give like a special type of cover or whatever. But it was very few of them. There was like 10 or something like that. And so I ordered 1 pack of those. And that comes with like 50 guys in a foxhole. So I don't think I ordered any Old Glory 15s. Oh, maybe I did. Okay. I think I ordered the Renault R35. I know. Why do you need to do that? Well, 3 Renault 35s attack Lafire Bridge. They get immobilized and destroyed, and 2 of them become roadblocks. In the scenario that's written, it says you place 2 destroyed Renaults on the table as roadblocks. But in the other scenario, the German player has these captured Renault tanks in the attack. So it just depends on at what time we're going to play this battle. Are we going to play where it's in the German counterattack, or are we going to play the American counterattack? Because they fought over that bridge all day. Yeah. And it's probably going to be one of those 2 bridges. All right. Well, that's basically it for the day, guys. Thanks for coming out. I've got some NKVDs on commission that I need to paint. So I'm going to jump on that. And I will see you. If you guys are interested in watching our D&D game, we play that on Thursday night, 5 o'clock. If not, that's fine. If you want to see some drama at the end of our Traveler game last Thursday, right there in the last 30 minutes or so, one of the players had a meltdown and he left. So if you're interested, we're looking for more players in our Traveler game. All right, so I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll see you next Wednesday.